morning, my dear students. How is it going? I hope all of you are good and happy. Welcome to our online English lesson. This week, as you know, we have started a new unit, Unit 6, Lesson 28. So today, it is story time. Yishen is the name of the story. It's the name of a girl. We will be covering page number 457 up to page number 469. Yishen by Gina Sabella, Grade 2, Lesson 28. What are our learning objectives for today? Upon completion of this lesson, you should be able to summarize the events of Yishen. You should be able to compare and contrast the characters of the story. You should understand what is meant by a fairy tale. So, let us start. You can get your journey textbook ready and open page number 458, but I have written the whole story here page by page, so it is better that if you listen to me and look here instead of opening your books. Once this is finished, you can go back to your book and read the story by yourself. So let me start. Yishen is a story same like Cinderella. All of you must have read the story of Cinderella, or you must have watched the cartoons, or you must have heard it from your friends. It's a very famous fairy tale. Yishen is a Chinese story which is similar to Cinderella. So let us start. Page 458. Yishen was a girl who grew up in China a long time ago. So she was living with her stepmother Jin and Junli. They lived in a cave. The stepmother did not like Yishen. Yishen was gentler and kinder than Jin's own daughter Junli. Yishen was a hard worker. Junli was spoiled and lazy. Jin gave Yishen only rags to wear. What do you mean by this word? You can circle this word or underline it. Rags mean old, worn out dress. So she gave her only rags to wear. She gave her long list of chores to do. You can underline this word also. Chores. What do you mean by chores? Work. So she gave her long list of work. When Yishen finished one task, Jin added 3 more to the list. Let's move to the next page. 459. Yishen was always busy working. She did not have a chance to make many friends. But she did have one very special friend. So Yishen had only one friend. And who was this friend? No, it wasn't any girl. It was a fish. Yes, as you can see in this picture, this friend had golden eyes, glimmering scales. What do you mean by the word glimmering? Excellent, shining. And a big beautiful tail. It was a fish that lived in the pond. Every day Yishen stopped by the pond and shared some crumbs with the fish. So she used to give her food, and the fish popped up to greet his friend. Yishen's stepmother saw this and she became furious. You can circle this word, furious. What do you mean by this word? Angry. So the stepmother was angry because she did not want Yishen to have any friends. So what did she do? Look here, very important. One day, Jin caught the fish and cooked it for dinner. So her stepmother, she caught this fish and cooked it for dinner. So now you know that she was a mean lady. Next page, 460. Yi Shen cried when she saw her friend served for dinner. She ran out of the cave and sat by the pond. So of course Yi Shen was depressed and she cried. But then what happened? An old man came to her. What is the matter? An old man asked. So this old man, he inquired from Yi Shen about the matter. Yi Shen told him about her friend, the fish. Then she told him what her stepmother had done. Listen carefully to me, the old man said. The bones of that fish hold special powers. Take the bones and bury them in 4 pots. Put 1 pot at each corner of your bed. Whenever you need help, tell the bones what you need. They will make your every wish come true. So you see, the fish was magical. Do you remember I told you that this is a fairy tale, and in a fairy tale you always have some magical characters. So in this story, the fish is magical. She has magical powers, and the old man tells Yi Shen to bury the bones of that fish in 4 pots. Now let us see what happens next. 461. So you can see the bones of the fish. Yi Shen followed the old man's directions. When she got back to the cave, she buried the bones in 4 pots. Then she put the pots by the corners of her bed. But she did not have anything to ask for yet. But she felt content knowing that her friend was close by. What is the meaning of this word? We have done it. Excellent. Satisfied. So she was satisfied that the fish was close by, but she did not make any wish. A few weeks later, the spring festival arrived. So a festival came. Circle this word, festival. So there was a festival. At the festival, young men and women could meet. They hoped to fall in love and marry. So this is a festival in which men and women, they meet. Why? To find someone to get married. Jin didn't want to ruin Janli's chances of finding a husband. So she ordered Yi Shen to stay home and clean. Then she and Janli went to the festival. Now we all know that Yi Shen is more pretty, more beautiful than Janli. That's why the stepmother, she did not want Yi Shen to go with them, because she wanted her daughter to find someone to get married. But she knew that if Yi Shen will go with them, everybody will look at Yi Shen because she is more beautiful than her daughter, and nobody will look at Janli, and in this way she won't be able to find someone to get married to. Now let us move to the next page, 462. Yi Shen did not want to stay home and clean, so now she had a wish. I wish I had beautiful clothes, she said to the bones. I wish I could go to the festival. I wish I could be like all the other girls. So as soon as Yi Shen said the words, something amazing happened. So what happened? Magic happened. She was covered in the finest clothes from head to toe. Her old worn shoes were replaced by a pair of slippers made from silk. Yi Shen was overjoyed. What's the meaning of overjoyed? Very happy and grateful for the gifts from her friend. She ran off happily to the festival. So we see that Yi Shen is finally successful in going to the festival. because now she has good clothes and expensive slippers. Next page, 463. Everyone at the festival stopped to stare at Yi Xin when she walked in. Who was this beautiful girl in the magnificent clothes? Yi Xin had a wonderful time at the festival. So now she was very happy because she looked very pretty in her new dress and everybody was turning and looking at her. But she was worried that she might be seen by her stepmother. So she decided to hurry home. But she ran so fast that one of her silk slippers fell off. It lay in the middle of the road. It was the only sign that Yi Xin had visited the festival. So what happened? What tragedy happened? She lost one of her silk slipper while she was going back. At home, Yi Xin stuffed her new clothes into the pots. She concealed. What is the meaning of concealed? Hid. She hid her one silk slipper too. So she changed into her rags and waited for her stepmother to return. She didn't want her stepmother or stepsister to know about her visiting the festival, so she hid everything. She hid them in the pots. Next page, 464. Meanwhile, a traveler found the silk slipper on the road. So who is a traveler? You can circle this word. Traveler means someone who is traveling. So a traveler found the silk slipper on the road. He knew it was valuable. What is the meaning of valuable? Expensive. Because it was made of silk, so he understood that it is something expensive. So he gave it to the king. The king was curious to find the owner of the slipper. So he had his men build a hut. So what do you mean by this? Now the king, when he saw the slipper, he wanted to know who is the owner of it. He wanted to see whose slipper it was. So what did he do? He told his men to make a hut, and he told everyone in the town to come and try the slipper. So all the girls in the town, they went to the hut to try the slipper, but because it was not their slipper, so it did not fit in their foot. Yi Xin also heard about the hut. Now she wanted her slipper back. So what did she do? She went out of the cave one night and ran quietly to the hut. Why did she go in the night? Because she didn't want anyone to see her. As she crept toward the slipper, the king's men grabbed her. So she was finally discovered. The king's men, they saw her and they grabbed her because they thought that she is a thief. The king took one look at Yi Xin's rags and thought she was a thief. Why did they were thinking that she is a thief? Because of her dress. She was wearing her old worn out dress. So all of them thought that she is a thief. But then what happened? Yi Xin looked up at the king. Page 465. Last page. When Yi Xin looked at the king, her eyes were filled with tears. The king saw how gentle and kind she was. He listened to her words. So when the king saw her face, he wanted to listen to her story because she looked very kind and gentle. She didn't look like a thief. Yi Xin told the king, "Please, I will show you the other slipper." And then she took the king to her home. She put on the magic silk slipper and her fine clothes. So when the king saw this, he knew that he wanted to marry her. So the king, he fell in love with her and he wanted to marry her. However, he was angry at how Jin and Zhenli had treated Yi Xin. It means that Yi Xin told everything to the king, and the king himself, he saw that how they were treating Yi Xin. So he did not like them and he told them never to come to his castle. So they stayed in their cave for the rest of their lives. So with this we can see that this fairy tale has a happy ending. Yeshin goes with the king, she marries the king and lives happily ever after. Whereas the evil in this story, Jin and Junli, they live in the cave for the rest of their time. So can you say what lesson have you learned from this story? As you can see in this fairy tale, we have seen that good things happen with good people, and the bad people or the evil people, they don't get anything in the end. So you should always do good things, you should always be kind. I want you to read this story page by page. Try to read it 1 to 2 times and try to understand what you are reading. I have even added this slide here. It has the story. You can play and you can listen to it, and later on you can read it by yourself. Now it is time to dig deeper. Let us do some exercise. Page number 466, sequence of events. What do you mean by that? Yeshin is about events that happen to a young girl. The events in the story happen in order. Thinking about the sequence of events can help you figure out the lesson in the story. Think about what happens and what the characters learn from the events. Then think about the lesson you can learn. As you read, use a chart like the one below to help you retell the order of events. So what do you mean by sequence of events? We have done this in our previous lessons. You already know that whenever there is a story, events happen in order. Something happens first, then next, and then at the end you can see the result. So in this story also you have seen that first how Yeshin is treated by her stepmother. Then what happens? She meets the old man. Then there is a festival, how she goes to the festival, and in the end, in the last, how the king is able to find her, and then how they get married. So try to talk about this story, recall this story, but in the correct sequence of events. After this, compare and contrast, page 467. When you read a story, you can compare and contrast. When you compare and contrast, you tell how things are alike and different. As you read Yeshin, you can compare and contrast how the characters look, think, and act. You can also compare and contrast to see how the characters change in the story. This will help you see how the characters respond to story events and can help you understand more about them. So you have done this activity also in your previous lessons. Here I want you to compare and contrast Yeshin and Junli, how they are same and how they are different. Think about it. For example, both Yeshin and Junli are raised by the same mother. Both of them live in a cave. Both of them want to go to the festival. But Yeshin is kind. She's kinder than Junli. Junli is lazy. She's spoiled. But Yeshin is hardworking. So you can compare and contrast these characters. How do some characters change in the story? For example, Yeshin, how did she change? In the beginning, she was a poor girl. In the end, she gets married to the king. So you see, throughout the story, there are characters who keep on changing, and you should be able to see this change and understand it. Now, it is your turn. It is discussion time. What can you learn from reading a fairy tale? Discuss the events in Yeshin with a small group. Use text evidence to explain the story's lesson. Add your own ideas to what others say. You can talk about these questions. In what ways does Yeshen change in the story? In what ways does she stay the same? Why does the king think Yeshen is a thief? Think about the end of the story. How might the king have treated Jin and Junli differently if they had been kind to Yeshen? We have already answered these questions. You can recall the story or read it once again, or you can go back through these slides, previous ones, and you can answer these questions. Performance task, page 469. Write about reading. How do you think Yeshen's stepmother and stepsister feel at the end of the story? Write a few sentences to explain your answer. I want you to take out your writing notebook and write how do you think they feel. Writing tip: use interesting and exact words to tell about the character's feelings. Your answers can be different, but try to write at least 1 or 2 sentences about this. They were sad, or they were angry, or they were feeling lonely, or maybe they were feeling bad. Think and try to use different words and try to use exact words to express what do you think they must be feeling at the end of the story. Write complete sentences, at least 1 or 2 in your notebook. Now, let us move to the question answers. I want you to try answering all these questions. Try, read them. I have given options. You can underline the correct answer. Once you are done, you can come back and you can start from here. And then we can answer these questions together. Okay, good. Let us start. Number 1. Which fairy tale element is included in Yeshen? So tell me which magical character is used, a golden fish or a fairy godmother? So in Yeshen, yes, excellent. What is it? A golden fish. So let us underline a golden fish. Number 2. What does Yeshen accidentally leave behind at the festival? A silk slipper or fish bones? So, yes, excellent, a silk slipper. So let us underline a silk slipper. Number 3. Yeshen is the Chinese version of which folktale? Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty? Very easy. In this story, nobody is sleeping, so it is the correct answer is Cinderella. Very good. It is similar to Cinderella. Number 4. What is one way that Yeshen and her stepsister Junli are different? The first option is Yeshen cannot dance and Junli is a dancer. Or Yeshen is a hard worker and Junli is spoiled and lazy. So how are they different? It's not about dancing. Yes, excellent. Yeshen is a hard worker and Junli is spoiled and lazy. Very good. Now question number 5. What happens to Yeshen's stepmother and stepsister in the end? So the first option is they come to the palace with Yeshen and the king, or they remain in their cave home. Yes, you are right. They remain in their cave home. Number 6. What did the old man tell Yeshen to do with the fish bones? To throw them in the pond or to put them in pots and bury them? So what did he tell? Yes, he said to put them in pots and bury them. Very good. Question number 7. What did Ye Xian wish for? So what did she wanted to do? To go to festival or to cook and clean? Yes, of course, you're right. She wanted to go to festival because she was tired of cooking and cleaning. Number 8. Where does the story takes place? Very easy. In China, not in India. Excellent. Question number 9. How is Ye Xian different at the end of the story? At the end, she is mean to everyone, or she is married to a king and lives in a castle. So, of course, she is not mean, she is very kind, but she gets married. Number 10. Who represents evil in this story? Who is the bad guy? Who is the evil? Who is the evil person in this story? The old man? No, he is not evil, we know. Jin and Zhengli. Yes, they are mean and they are evil in this story. Number 11. What is the genre of the story? It is an informational text? No, because it is not giving us any information. It is a fairy tale? Yes, it is a fairy tale. Last question. In the story, who tried to find the owner of the slipper? The traveler or the king? The traveler, when he saw the slipper, he did not try to find the owner. He gave the slipper to the king. But the king was the one who wanted to find the owner. So the answer is the king. With this, we come to an end for our today's online lesson. I know it was a bit lengthier, but I want you to go through the whole lesson. You can take breaks in between if you want, but please go through the whole story, listen, read, and try to understand the story. It's very easy, very interesting, and I'm sure you all must have enjoyed reading it. Now let us go back to our learning objectives. Let us see, did we achieve them? Upon completion of this lesson, students will be able to summarize the events of Ye Xian. So I think now all of you know this story and you can tell how the events takes place in this story. First, next and last. You can compare and contrast the characters of the story. So you all know the difference between Ye Xian and Zhengli, and you know how the characters are getting changed in the story. You can see how the characters are same or different and how they change in the story themselves. You can also understand what is meant by a fairy tale. So now our learning objectives are achieved for today's lesson. We will meet soon in our next lesson. Till then, take good care of yourself.